The Clemson Tigers were taken down this past weekend in very sad fashion by our greatest rivals, the South Carolina Gamecocks.
The Gamecocks.
It was a very, very crazy game. Not too dissimilar from the Ohio State-Michigan game that we already talked about. This was a really sad one for me because we lost to them the last time we played them at home. We beat them last year, but this was a spot for us to, regardless of what happened in the Syracuse-Miami game, this was in the morning, to just make the college football playoffs pretty much. You win this game,
you're in.
You're 10-2,
most likely.
top 15 win. It's very, very, very likely you're in.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be hard to get a 3-loss team ahead of you at this point in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that didn't happen. We allowed Lenore Sellers to look like prime Cam Newton in this game running the ball. 16 carries, 166 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns, including 3rd and 16 on the 20-yard line, 20-yard rushing touchdown with a minute left. We drove down the field. All we had to do, kick field goal to go to overtime or throw it in the end zone and try to score. Cade decides to throw across his body in the middle of the field and throw an interception with 20 seconds left for 3 yards. And we lose. So 9-3, the season's basically over. And then Miami gifts us the best gift of the season. Shout out Syracuse. Shout out your head coach. We're not playing for the
Shout out
championship.
McLaren. Yep.
I guess that's the benefit of having your tough games be out of conference games because not many tough teams in the conference. But I wanted to start off by saying, while this was very disappointing, this was the best game. This was the best Clemson has played all season. It was. It just was. If you look at all of our other games, right? Any other time we played a tough team, Georgia, 34-3. Sure, that was 3-6 at halftime. We played a good half of football, not offensively, just defensively. Then absolutely got blown out in the second half. Louisville at the time, when we lost to them, I know they're not ranked anymore because they dropped a couple bad ones at the end of the year. They were really hot. They came in, beat us. They were ranked, I want to say, like 21 when we played them. And we looked terrible that game. This game, we were winning the entire game, start to finish, until a minute left. With a complete defensive lapse, a really, really bad job of the QB spy coming up to the line of scrimmage, allowing him to run by him. If he just steps 5 yards back and doesn't try to rush, you tackle him, the game's over. And then also we had a chance to win at the end of the game. Terrible decision by Cade. But looking forward, all I want to say is we have a chance to win the ACC championship. And I do actually think we're probably playing the best football we have all season, which is sad to say because we are 9-3 and we haven't looked fantastic. But, obviously I'm disappointed in the result. I think it was really bad. I think, Dabo really needs to look himself in the mirror when it comes to what he's allowed the in-state rival to do as a program, have better recruiting classes, no doubtably a better team. I mean, they're one of the hottest teams in college football right now. They've won 6 straight, 3 of those top 25 wins.
Yep.
Decent chance they probably make the playoffs. If they don't, there's going to be a lot of controversy with them allowing Bama in over them when South Carolina, besides maybe Texas and Oregon, is probably the hottest team in football. But we were beating the hottest team in the football for 59 minutes. So, it gives me pretty good encouragement that I think we'll be able to handle business against SMU and see what happens. But there's a lot about Clemson left to be desired.
Yeah, I don't know. That's real tough statement. You lose at home to your in-state rival, and it's the best you've looked all year.
It is.
Well, they got robbed.
No.
They got robbed with the fumble. Because that was not a fumble.
Do agree with that statement, but yeah.
I mean, whatever happens at the end of it, you had a chance to win the game if you just hold anybody at the line. The guy's didn't throw for a single yard the entire day. His only throws have been picks or incomplete passes. But I just think that this Clemson team is just very middle of the pack mediocre. I don't think they could beat a really good team. South Carolina has been on fire. Are they an elite team, like one of the top 5? I don't think so. I think they're probably in like that 9 to 11 range. Still, they could beat a good team, but nothing crazy. So, I mean, it's just week after week. I think, again, Clemson's in a perfect scenario. In a game where everything was humiliation, and if Miami won, Dabo's on the, I think, should be gone. Now it's like, Dabo gets to prove himself. If they lose the ACC championship and you got embarrassed at home to your rival for 2 out of 3 years, and you've lost the second game at home, I just think Dabo should go. I think it's Clemson, once again, the only team in college football history to have life this many times. I've never seen anything like it, to be dead to rights. Like 8 weeks into the season, then 5 weeks into the season, then last week, and then you lose the game and you're dead, and somehow miraculously you win. 21-point underdog. Kyle McCord comes back, and I've never seen something like this happen. Maybe they have luck on their side, and that's what they need. Luck's better than skill, but I think this Clemson team will be hitting the wall next week against SMU. But
Mike,
yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with both sides of that. I think it is definitely a very shocking, and it should be a cold slap in the face for Dabo Swinney to lose to, like, well, I guess he won the one at South Carolina, but losing the past 2 home games against your in-state rival that's just really painful, really bad. But again, I go back to, I think if Clemson doesn't get that fumble, then Lenore Seller isn't pushing down for that last.
Well, I agree completely. That fumble was one of the craziest decisions I've ever seen. His knee was down. They say he didn't have possession, but
not only that. I mean, I think we see a lot of mistakes happen with a lot of really good players. If Cade doesn't throw that cross-body interception, they might be marching. We might be going into overtime. This conversation might be very different. So I think it's really easy to go hindsight, say, oh yeah, look at this kind of pick that Cade threw. This is why they lost, blah, blah, blah. But I think Tyler's right too. I think they played a really, really excellent game of football throughout the entire game. And then at the end, it seemed like your defense got tired, in my opinion. I think you guys weren't.
That guy also is making some of the most insane runs I've ever seen. We're talking about hottest quarterbacks in college football right now. Lenore Sellers is like top 2 or 3.
He's super talented, but in my opinion, I feel like you guys didn't get as much pressure on him in that last touchdown that he ran than you guys were doing before.
I don't know. See, I don't know if it's the pressure. He would the amount of, I don't know if you watched how many missed sacks we had that game.
A lot of escapes.
We had 3 sacks. Like Dabo said, it could have been 6 in the post game. I think it probably should have been closer to 8 or 9. But even in the first quarter, I was watching the game with Ryan, the amount of times he is in the clutches,
wrapped up, and just runs. Yep.
Yeah, just destroys. So he's a really good football player, but yeah, I agree. There is, you can't just look at one thing. We had multiple chances to win this game.
That's true too. I think just in general, any rivalry game, if you lose it, is going to be a slap in the face. And again, I think if Clemson goes out, wins the ACC championship, I don't think Dabo should be fired. I think he's actually picking it up at the end of the year. But they
lost their in-state rival at home. I mean, how many more?
But
how much longer do teams want to be mediocre at best? It's going to be an SMU team that was ranked 8th to win the ACC.
This is going to put a really interesting scenario up. So, I shit on Clemson all the time. I'm very, very, very hard on my own team. And yes, every good team we played, we lost to. There aren't that many one-loss teams in their own conference, in any conference. There's I think an undefeated team in the Big Ten, 2 one-loss Big Ten teams. I think there's 1 one-loss SEC team.
Yep, just us.
There's 1 one-loss ACC team, and there's 0 one-loss, or 1 one-loss. No, there's 0 one-loss Big 12 teams. There's maybe 5 or 6 teams in the country that have 0 1-losses in their conference. We're one of them. I mean, the ACC is not good this year at all.
Well,
but I'm just saying, I honestly think, we're going to talk about the SMU game. SMU, I think they're good. Maybe they beat us. Maybe they don't. I think there's a decent chance we do win that game, and decent chance the way things shake out, we get a bye in the first round at the 4 seed, and we have probably one of the easiest matchups in the next round. So yeah, I'm all on the get better coaches train. I've been saying it for weeks now. But yeah, Dabo, if that happens, will not be fired for another 4 years if we make it to the semifinals.
Yeah, again, it's
just gonna happen.
One last thing. I think we'll talk about this in a future video coming out this week as well. But Clemson, an ACC team contending with SEC team, which in my opinion, SEC is by and large the hardest conference in college football.
For sure.
And so playing that as a tight game says something about your program. I think it's a positive.
Yeah, we used to beat the shit out of these guys, but yeah.
This is a rivalry. This isn't really SEC versus ACC. This is really a rivalry game.
But South Carolina they used to be a lot worse than they are now.
A lot worse. This is the best South Carolina football has looked since Jadeveon Clowney.
I'm saying that's more like this, not like
totally
they're coming back.
Which is totally why I think, and the recruiting classes are insane. And don't get me wrong, Lenore Sellers is coming back next year, so is Evan Stewart for 2 more years. So they have a lot of runway. Mario, what did you see here? I know South Carolina's in the SEC, LSU's in the SEC. You're very familiar with this team.
Yeah. This game kind of went what I expected. I thought it'd be a tough game for Clemson. Something about your guys' offense, it's Ohio State-ish,
Yeah,
where
they don't play through the strongest weapons.
You guys could be better, but you'd almost voluntarily choose not to be better.
Yeah, Garrett Riley's
and it's let's really earn this.
He's stealing from us.
But you guys have a solid defense. At times, offense can be, hit or miss. And this South Carolina defense, like you said, team in general is just one of the hottest teams. I think going forward, I really like you guys against SMU. I just don't think Dabo. Say what you will about him, but like I haven't seen a Clemson team, lose back-to-back big spots, So I think you guys show up against SMU. I think a lot of people will be down on Clemson. A lot of people will be bullish on SMU. You guys might, if you lose, it's going to be a close game. So
yeah, I also think this is another, like Ryan said, we just keep getting the door open for us.
Yep.
But this is really a spot where
it's a must-win.
This is a measuring stick spot.
Yeah.
And it's a must-win. If we end 9-4, losing to our rivals, losing to both SEC teams, and then losing to SMU in the conference championship, then it's like, you look at next year's recruiting class, it's fallen out of the top 25. You lost a lot of recruits. Then it's like, you really have to look at it objectively. Mm-hmm. So from a program perspective, that might actually be the best thing for us.
Yeah.
But as a fan, I've looked at the way the bracket lays out. If we get that 4 seed and you get the bye, it is not a hard path to the semis.
Yeah.
Once you're in the mix, anything could happen. Who knows?
That could also turn, your scenario could turn real dark real quick. I mean, if you do end up switching out of Dabo, you lose the ACC championship or whatever, and you go to a new head coach.
I want to pay the Arizona State coach $500 million a year to come.
I mean, that guy is never
juice
leaving.
into the program.
That guy is the
500
coolest.
million,
That guy's the coolest
$500
guy
million a
ever.
year. $500 million a year.
He would give it all to Arizona State staffers
He
again.
probably
That
would.
guy's a beast. But again, I think that could go really dark. I think Dabo is the reason you guys have any type of strength or semblance in your recruiting class. And I think if you get somebody who isn't,
We don't have any anymore.
Yeah, everyone's flipped.
Yeah.
it's definitely going down. But I
That's what
think
I'm
it could
saying.
go
Just
a lot
because-
faster down.
Just because someone did something doesn't mean they're going to continue to do something. Yeah.
Who's going to
Well,
Clemson right now for Dabo Sweeney? Like, what high school recruit's going? I'm going to go because Dabo's
It's
going to flip me
literally
into an
the
NFL
local
player.
South Carolina
I'm
kids
be
and
into-
really religious students.
Yeah,
That's
that's true.
They're just riding the coattails off of former national championships, but no one's like, I'm going for Dabo. It's like you know the name Clemson. It's it's familiar.
And one thing
fair.
I'll end with before we wrap this up is that it sounds like the House settlement thing is passing in April for college football, where you can do revenue share to pay the players directly from the university. And while Clemson doesn't really compete in NIL, this is a different type of money pool with salary caps and stuff. Mm-hmm. And the university already said we're putting the maximum amount that you can for any school into it. So that's a really good sign as well. So if we can win this one, if we can, compete in the college football playoffs somehow, and we can start paying players next year, maybe we can turn it around without having to fire him, but we'll see what happens. I know we're going to cover the SMU episode in depth on Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
So stay locked in with us, go Tigers, and we'll see what happens.